Hi, ever wonder what it's like to work another profession or live in the underworld? Listen to unsuspecting riders give a 10 to 15 minute personal masterclass as I spontaneously interview them as they enter my taxi. I'm your host, Simon Rushton, and this is Taxi Chronicles. Morning. Yes, we're back with another rider, another episode. Today we have a lovely lady, and she's going to tell us about what it is to be in the events and how she gets into, like, what the ideal career, ideal path. So nice to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so tell us, first of all, what kind of person were you when you was in school?
So I was probably a bit of an organiser. I was head girl and I like to get everyone to do events and stuff, which probably explains my career path now. But yeah, I'd say people probably wouldn't be surprised to hear what I do now.
Okay, that's good. So did you go to a boarding school? So I heard you said head girl?
No, I went to round the corner, St Marylebone School. So it's literally just on Marylebone Road, so it's a state school. But no, we still had old houses and stuff. But yeah, so in a London girls' school, so lots of drama going on.
Okay. So when did you decide that you want to be in events?
So I've been around it for quite a while. My dad works in like the set side of it, so he has a set production company, so they'll produce all the like carpentry backdrops and stuff for events. So I've always kind of been on site, I suppose, like on big events and stuff like that. So I've been around it since a baby, and then went to uni and did geography, which obviously isn't really related, but then came back to London. And yeah, it just felt like the right thing to do, and I love it. I love the being on site and kind of like you soak up the atmosphere, and I like organising stuff, and I think it just suits my personality quite well.
You said you did a geography degree.
Yeah.
What A-levels did you do?
I did geography, psychology, drama and English.
How many A-levels?
Yeah, I did 4. I don't know why.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you could do all your education route again, specifically for what you do, what would you have chosen?
I think I still would have done the degree I did, to be honest, because I think personally I found that all the experience I've gained working in events has been from on the ground experience. So I think my degree gave me more of a like basis in like learning and discipline and also having fun, I suppose, rather than, so it was interesting to study it as a topic rather than do it as like a vocational thing for my degree, for my career.
Okay, but are there events degrees?
Yeah, there are events degrees that some people do, and I'm sure would be super interesting. But for me personally, I suppose I've been around the industry as well, so I probably had a bit of a knowledge of it from a younger age. So I did work experience from when I was like 14, 15 and stuff. So yeah.
You've spoken about being an organiser.
Yeah.
What other skills would you tell someone that they would need?
You need to be a bit of a chameleon, I'd say, would be a good one. Like, it's a very kind of like shapeshifter job. Like, 1 minute you're kind of doing like account management and very like client facing, and then the next minute you could be like carrying big wooden panels up the stairs because you haven't got enough crew, or like you could be in the kitchen trying to like get something sped along. So there's a lot of different moving parts. So you have to be able to jump from one role quite quickly to another, and you have to be quite calm under pressure. Like, there's quite a lot of like, because all your work and it could be months, is building up to one event. There can be a lot of like time critical and like pressurizing moments within that build up to those days. So I think you have to be able to kind of handle that, because there's certainly been situations where I've thought that everything's going to go wrong, and it never does, but it's just you have to be able to like keep calm in the storm, basically, because even if you're however organised you are, just the nature of events, there's always going to be things changing, there's always going to be stuff going wrong, there's always going to be, could be weather, could be someone wants something else, someone wants to change a bit of artwork or something, so you have to just be quite resilient in that environment, I suppose.
Flexible for your client's needs.
Yeah, exactly.
And a team player.
Yes.
and good at working with people, understanding.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think it's a very sociable job, and that's one of the things I like about it the most. Like, you meet a lot of really interesting different people, and yeah, you have to kind of be a people person in that sense as well.
Okay. What would you have? There's ever been a point in a job where you thought, I don't want to do this anymore?
Never. I thought I don't want to do it anymore. Maybe a little bit. It's not worth my sanity sometimes, because there have been jobs I've done where like you're literally getting like 3 or 4 hours sleep a night in the build up to it, and you do like make yourself ill by the end of it. You're like, you kind of like keep going, and then as soon as the event finished, like you've got a full-on cold afterwards because you've just like abused your body basically. But so that's been the only point. But no, I think under the same logic, I quite like the adrenaline, and I quite like that kind of pace of working. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, I suppose.
What would you say you've learned that you wish you knew when you had started?
Good question. Probably what I said about not getting stressed and overwhelmed by everything, because at the beginning I'd say I probably was more susceptible to that, but now I've kind of got like coping strategies, and I know that's going to happen, so I kind of preempt it rather than deal with it in the moment.
Can you give us an example of a coping strategy?
So one thing that's quite standard in events, but that one thing that I really like to do now, you basically create like a critical path where you basically outline every single thing that you need to do for the event, everything that could go wrong or right, and you just put it into this massive master spreadsheet essentially, and then you basically just put a time in that's your deadline to do that, and then doing that means that you've kind of got a log of everything that needs to happen. But that's quite specific to my job, I suppose, but it's a useful thing to do generally, and if you're working on like project-based tasks, I'd recommend it.
Okay. Good. So what does the future hold for you?
So this year's been a bit of a funny year because events have obviously gone digital. So we're kind of moving into... So I didn't work for a few months as well because I was freelance, so that was quite a hard time because obviously the whole event industry just like went completely, like it was obliterated overnight. It's something like a £10 billion industry or something. So I didn't work for a few months, and then I ended up getting a job working in digital events. So it's basically producing the same event, but rather than people being there in real life, you broadcast it and then it gets streamed to audiences around the world.
Like on Zoom?
Yeah, well, we actually sometimes Zoom, but sometimes we also like build bespoke programs basically. So we build websites that are specific for whoever our client is. And that's been a bit of a transition, but it's also been a really interesting like learning curve, because it's essentially a whole new division of events. Like, it didn't really exist before in the same capacity, and I think moving forward we're going to kind of go into a hybrid event world where it will be a mixture of the digital stuff and in real life stuff, which I think will be really interesting as well. So it's been exciting because it's been new challenges to overcome, and so it's been really interesting.
Yeah, you're delving into new areas.
Yeah.
And you can also expand your skill base.
Exactly, yeah.
But I'm just trying to understand, you said you deal with set building, and now you're doing websites. So how do the two merge?
So we'd build a set, and then we'd get a set company to build the set, and then we get coders to build a website, and then we'd get our film crew to film the set we've built. So it could be a chocolate shop or something, and we film that. And then that is then live broadcast on a website, like just live streamed from the studio to the global audience. So that's the kind of new realm of virtual events, basically.
Okay. That sounds like you could start a whole new business, a whole new company.
Yeah,
based on that.
Yeah, and it's certainly happened. Loads of different companies have been springing up, and I've been quite lucky. I've got a new role leading the department, like setting up the events division, which has been really exciting.
Are you say you're freelance?
I'm not anymore. I was freelance at the beginning of the year, and I've just taken a new role.
Would you ever consider doing your own corporation?
I think so. I think eventually it's always been in my my plan. But I'd say the age I am now, I kind of like, I'm still learning about the industry and stuff. So I think but it's certainly something I want to do eventually, I'd say.
You've been in there 10 years.
Yeah. But it's so...
You can't learn on the job as you're going along.
Yes and no. I think it's definitely something I want to do, but I think I recognise that I am learning loads in the current role I'm in, and I'm really happy. So I don't see the need to do it just yet, but it's something I do want to do.
Well, from a layman's point of view, you got my vote.
Thank you.
You got my confidence. My last question is, what's the impact you want to have on the world?
I always like to approach, like, just interacting with people in a, like, treat people how you want to be treated. I always like to have positivity. I mean, my friends have this thing called, like, posy vibes, where you just, like, put that out to the world, because you just want everyone to be happy and kind of, like, enrich people's day rather than make them worse. So, yeah, I suppose that's what I do in my job, but I like to do that in the day-to-day as well with people I meet.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for that. We appreciate it, and we wish you well.
Thanks very much. Oh, this is my...
We hope you liked that interview. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to get the latest daily episode. Ever considered investing in the continent with the fastest growing economy and population on Earth? The same continent that holds 30% of the world's known natural resources? Then listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, where you will hear real investors with real stories from around the world share their experience of investing in Africa. We post Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m.